The animals of our world deserve both respect and caution. While some may appear harmless and approachable from a distance, the reality often tells a different story, one that's far less friendly up close. This is especially true when it comes to creatures found on or near beaches. Many dangerous animals can wash ashore or lurk in the waters close by, and if you're not careful, you could find yourself in trouble. So, with that in mind, let's explore 20 of the most dangerous animals found on beaches. Number 20. Sea snakes. When you picture a snake, many of you probably think of ones that you'd find on land, around your home, in fields, plains, or maybe in trees depending on the species. Some might even live in underground pits. But just as many species of snakes can actually be found in the water, and sea snakes are rather notorious for how they can attack you because you won't actually see them coming. Thus, if you do see them on the beach, you should leave them alone. Naturally, people don't, and honestly, how have we even survived this long? So many stories have been made up about sea snakes. For example, some have noticed that certain snake species are rather short in length and, as a result, believe their bites can't hurt humans. Well, that's a lie. There are plenty of large sea snakes, and some of them have mouths that can elongate to wrap themselves around fish bigger than them. Thus, they can absolutely bite a human. Plus, it doesn't take much to penetrate human skin, so these snakes can definitely harm or potentially kill you. How's that possible? Many sea snakes have venom, and as you likely know, snake venom is not something to scoff at. For example, the Dubois sea snake is the third most venomous snake in the entire world and is more than capable of killing you if you let it bite you. So, you should be wary if you see a snake on the beach. Avoid it, and you may actually live longer. Number 19. Blue-ringed octopus. Octopuses and squids washing up on beaches have often been critical for scientific discoveries. These creatures typically live so deep in the waters of the world that we rarely see them unless they wash up on our shores. It's fascinating and helpful. However, if you see a blue-ringed octopus washed up on the beach near you, you should probably just stay away. Now, I'm sure you can guess why. The blue-ringed octopus is one you should avoid because, yes, it's small and seemingly unassuming, but it is among the deadliest creatures in the ocean. This toxin, tetrodotoxin, is one of the deadliest toxins in the world today. You might recognize that name. It's the same substance found in pufferfish and other feared creatures. And here's the kicker. Tetrodotoxin doesn't have an antivenom. If you're bitten, it's not just a case of get to a hospital quickly. It's more like, nice knowing you. Oh, and while they're famous for their vibrant blue rings, they can change their colors to blend into their surroundings. So, if one washes up on the beach, it might not look like a blue-ringed octopus at all. Yes, they do bite. And yes, it's just another reason why you should steer clear. Number 18. Asian giant hornets. Here's another creature you probably didn't expect to see on this list. The Asian giant hornet, also known as the murder hornet, has become infamous in recent years. These hornets are some of the deadliest and most painful creatures to encounter. Stories of their invasions, like the alleged arrival in the US, stirred mass panic. Though that was largely exaggerated, their reputation as killers is very real. One chilling example involved an elderly Japanese woman. She was in a wheelchair on her way home when she passed through an area where a swarm of these hornets attacked her. Because of her limited mobility, she couldn't escape. Tragically, no one could help her without being stung themselves. By the time help arrived nearly 50 minutes later, she had been stung over 150 times and succumbed to her injuries. What makes them particularly terrifying is their pheromone-laced sting, which attracts other hornets to join the attack. They can sting multiple times without dying, unlike bees, and their venom is potent. So, if you ever see one of their nests on a beach, walk away and call someone to deal with it. Don't be a hero. Number 17. Electric eel. A small warning here, you'd be very unlucky to find this at a beach. Why? Because electric eels don't usually live near beaches. They are native to the Amazon River and other South American river basins. However, if by some bizarre twist of fate you do find one washed up, do not touch it. Have you not been paying attention to this list? Despite its name, the electric eel is not actually an eel. It's a type of knife fish. Its electrical output comes from specialized organs that contain cells called electrocytes, which work like tiny batteries to produce shocks. These shocks can reach up to 600 volts, powerful enough to incapacitate larger prey or ward off predators. Even more alarming, the eel can deliver multiple shocks in quick succession, increasing the risk of serious harm. It uses this ability to stun its prey, and those shocks are more than enough to harm a human, especially if you're in the water. So, admire it from a safe distance, assuming it's even real. Number 16. Stonefish. While it may be rare to see a stonefish on the beach, it does happen. Should you encounter one, give it a wide berth because this creature is among the deadliest in the ocean. The stonefish has a toxin so potent that those who are stung often beg for the infected limb to be amputated. Yes, it's that painful. While there is an antidote for its venom, you have to act quickly. Without timely treatment, the result can be fatal. The stonefish is a clever predator, using its body and color to camouflage with the seabed. Animals, or unfortunate humans, who accidentally step on its venomous spines are in for a world of hurt. With 13 poisonous spikes, it's more than equipped to defend itself. They're known to inhabit shallow waters, which means divers or beachgoers could potentially stumble upon one. For example, in Australia, stonefish sightings are not uncommon. If you see one, do yourself a favor, don't touch it. Just walk away and let it do its thing. Now it's time for today's topic. In March 2020, just off the Strait of Gibraltar, a routine fishing trip turned into a nightmare that gripped the world. A group of fishermen, seasoned by years at sea, encountered a pod of orcas behaving strangely. At first, the scene was mesmerizing as the majestic creatures encircled the boat, leaping and gliding through the water. But fascination quickly turned into terror. The orcas began ramming the boat with calculated precision, targeting the rudder and hull. Each impact reverberated like a thunderclap, shaking the vessel violently. The crew scrambled to maintain control, but the boat was rendered defenseless. The captain desperately sent out a mayday signal as water began seeping in through cracks. Amid the chaos, one of the fishermen lost his balance and was thrown overboard. The orcas immediately swarmed around him, their dorsal fins slicing through the water like knives. The crew watched helplessly as he disappeared beneath the surface. By the time the Coast Guard arrived, the boat was partially submerged, and the man was never found. Experts speculated the attack was orchestrated, a rare and unnerving behavior for orcas. Was it a response to environmental changes or something darker? The incident left scientists and the world questioning the intelligence and motives of these enigmatic creatures. Number 15. Great white sharks. I'm going to put a little bit of a caveat on this one because it's another rare occurrence to find a shark, let alone a great white washed ashore. What's more, if it's dead, you honestly don't have a whole lot to fear. But if it's alive when it washes onto the shore, well, you won't want to get near it until it expires. After all, this is the legendary shark that many people have come to fear in the worst ways. Great white sharks are known to grow over 20 feet in length, weigh about 1,000 or more pounds, and are infamous for attacking humans. Except, well, they're not really like that, you know. They will attack humans if the opportunity arises and the food is there, but it's much rarer than you might think. However, their powerful jaws and razor-sharp teeth can cause devastating injuries if you happen to get too close. Even in their weakened state on the shore, their instinct to defend themselves can lead to unexpected danger. These sharks are also incredibly resilient, meaning they might survive longer out of water than you'd assume. They are apex predators, though, and they won't like being in a situation that's unknown to them. So, if one washes up on the beach, it will very likely thrash around and try to get itself back into the water. If you want to take pictures, well, by all means do so, but keep your distance and respect the animal, alive or dead. Number 14. Sea cucumbers. We'll begin with one that you definitely wouldn't expect to be harmful to you at all. After all, they're just sea cucumbers, right? Those things you sometimes notice in the ocean and think, well, that's different, before going on with your day. But what a lot of people forget, especially based on their name, is the fact that these creatures are alive, and they have ways of making you stay away from them. For example, many creatures tend to try to feed on sea cucumbers because they seem like easy prey. But the truth is they're anything but that when provoked. They'll actually shoot sticky strands out of their bodies to ensnare predators. If they're willing to do that to creatures of the deep, you can imagine what they might do to you. And as if that's not enough, sea cucumbers aren't afraid to mutilate themselves, ejecting their internal organs as a defense mechanism. It's bizarre and unsettling, to say the least. There have even been times when sea cucumbers have flooded coastlines due to population booms. So, if you don't want to mess with one sea cucumber, you definitely don't want to mess with a swarm of them. If you see them in the ocean, get out of the water right away. Let this be a lesson not to judge a book or a sea cucumber by its cover. Number 13. Seagulls. Some of you are likely laughing or even going, what? At this point, seagulls aren't that dangerous, you're probably saying with a chuckle. But are you sure about that? More importantly, how many times have you actually been near a seagull? Because if it's less than 5, you're not exactly an expert on the subject. Birds as a whole can be incredibly dangerous creatures depending on the species. Falcons, hawks, and owls get the spotlight because of their razor-sharp talons. But don't think for a second that seagulls are any less threatening. In fact, one could argue they're among the ones you should watch out for the most, especially in the right area. Seagulls are known to be opportunistic and ravenous when it comes to food. We've all heard stories of seagulls swooping down to steal sandwiches, ice cream cones, or even landing on people's heads. It happens all the time. What's more, they have beaks that can hurt people and talons reportedly strong enough to steal a small dog, like a chihuahua, from someone on the beach. And naturally, there are different species of seagulls, some of which are bigger and more aggressive. So, Consider this a better safe than sorry situation. Number 12. Textile cone snail. Here's another creature you're probably underestimating. Most people think of snails as slow-moving creatures that eventually become a French delicacy. But just as with snakes or birds, some snails can be incredibly dangerous. The textile cone snail is one such snail. And yes, it can kill you if provoked. These snails kill their prey using a venom known as conotoxin. What makes them particularly dangerous is their harpoon-like tooth, which can shoot out with surprising speed to deliver the venom. This mechanism is so powerful that it can even pierce gloves or wetsuits, making them a real hazard for divers. The venom itself can cause paralysis, respiratory failure, and in extreme cases, death, all within a matter of hours if untreated. To make matters worse, the snail's harpoon can strike multiple times, delivering repeated doses of venom. Adding to this danger, the snails often bury themselves in the sand or hide among rocks, making them hard to spot until it's too late. While very few humans are killed each year, it's still crucial to be aware of their danger. Adding to the risk is their pretty shells, which tempt people to pick them up without realizing the potential threat. A single mistake and you could find yourself regretting it soon afterward. Now, I'm not saying you can't pick up shells on the beach. Just be mindful. If the shell is inhabited, especially by a textile cone snail, you'll want to drop it immediately. Snails can be deadly, it's a fact. Number 11. Box jellyfish. Let's continue with creatures that are among the deadliest in the world. The box jellyfish is easily one of the most dangerous sea creatures known to humanity, and it's not a title they hand out lightly. This jellyfish has a toxin that can kill you within 5 minutes if untreated. Its venom attacks the heart, nervous system, and skin cells, causing excruciating pain and, in some cases, cardiac arrest. What's worse is that the box jellyfish is nearly transparent, blending into the waters of places like Australia with ease. This means you might not even realize you're near one until it's too late. Adding to its menace is its ability to move independently, unlike most jellyfish that simply drift with the current. This mobility allows the box jellyfish to actively hunt prey, making it an even greater threat. Thankfully, there is some good news. In areas like Australia, where box jellyfish are common, lifeguards keep antivenom on hand. If you get stung, seek help immediately, and you'll likely survive. Or, better yet, just don't touch these jellyfish if you see them washed up on the beach. It's the simplest way to avoid a potentially fatal encounter. Number 10. Fire ants. Now, you might be surprised to see fire ants on this list because you wouldn't think of them as being on a beach. But in fact, they do live there. What's more, they can sometimes be easy to spot because they'll make large mounds where their colonies reside to help mark their territory. Do I really have to spell out the problems of disturbing a nest or colony of fire ants? Shouldn't you already know the dangers of fire ants? First and foremost, fire ants have their own sting and bite that can do serious harm to you and cause a whole lot of pain. As you may recall, their sting is said to make your skin feel like it's burning, hence the moniker fire ant. But the thing you should really fear is what happens if you tick off the entire colony. If it was just 1 or 2 fire ants, you'd probably be fine, just squash them and move on. But if you disrupt the entire nest, well, you'll be besieged by no less than hundreds, if not thousands, of these ants. After all, they do all they can to protect the queen, and if that means stinging you relentlessly, that's exactly what they'll do. It's unlikely that most of you will have to be on constant lookout for these colonies on the beach, but just because it's unlikely doesn't mean it can't happen. Be cautious. Number 9. Flower urchins. Now, let's talk about something you might have seen on the beach before and knew not to touch, but were at least curious about. Urchins are creatures that typically live dormant on certain floor beds within the ocean. And yes, to be clear, they are alive. These creatures might seem inanimate, but the tides can wash them ashore. Whether it's standard sea urchins or flower urchins, you don't want to touch them under any circumstances. After all, they're covered in spines designed to ward off predators, and that alone should keep you away. But if that's not enough of a warning for you, some, like the flower urchins, have a toxin that can cause severe harm. The spines are not only sharp but coated with venom, which means even a small prick can inject toxins into your body. This can result in symptoms like excruciating pain, swelling, difficulty breathing, and in rare cases, paralysis. If the spines break off and remain embedded in your skin, they can continue to release toxins, complicating treatment further. The flower urchin specifically has a toxin called contractin A, which can cause your muscles to spasm, while petatoxin can lead to convulsions, allergic reactions, and even death. It may look harmless enough, and you might be curious about what the spines feel like, but don't touch them. You'll be in a lot less pain that way, and probably a whole lot more alive. Number 8. Saltwater Crocodile. Shout out to all of you who live in Florida because here's a creature that absolutely could find its way to your beach and cause chaos. Thanks for taking the hit for the rest of us. And I do mean that sincerely because the saltwater crocodile is the largest crocodile in the world today. These creatures can grow over 20 feet long and weigh up to 3,000 pounds. They're also predators, ones that like to ambush their prey with a quick strike. Like a beachgoer with a metal detector who thinks there's nothing wrong with getting too close to one. Just as bad, though, is that these crocs can easily blend into the waters of the oceans or seas next to them. So, there could be one directly beside you, and you wouldn't even know it. And don't think for a second that these creatures wouldn't go wandering onto a beach. They're shameless at times. There have even been multiple instances of crocs in Florida wandering onto golf courses during hurricanes. If they'll do that, then they'll definitely take a stroll along the beach during regular hours. Be aware. Number 7. Portuguese Man O War. There are many misconceptions about the Portuguese Man O War. The first is that it's a jellyfish. Believe it or not, it isn't. It's a siphonophore. Like all siphonophores, it's a colonial organism made up of many smaller units called zooids. All the zooids in a colony are genetically identical, but they fulfill specialized functions, such as feeding and reproduction. Together, they allow the colony to operate as a single individual. Though, given the shape it takes and how it acts, it's commonly referred to as a jellyfish. Now you know, and knowing is half the battle. So then, the big question becomes, why shouldn't you touch this creature? Well, that would be because, like a jellyfish, it does have a sting. And also like a jellyfish, its sting carries a toxin that can be both quite painful and potentially deadly. The venom can travel to the lymph nodes and cause symptoms that mimic an allergic reaction, including swelling of the larynx, airway blockages, cardiac distress, and an inability to breathe. Other symptoms can include fever, shock, and, in extreme cases, even death. Yes, the key word there is extreme cases. However, extreme in this case just means rare or less likely. Would you really want to take that risk yourself? Just ask the people of Australia. The Portuguese Man O War causes significant harm to people there every year, so they know to stay away from it. On one hand, it's a marvel of nature, but on the other, it's a marvel that can hurt you very, very badly. Number 6. Orcas. Now, I'd like to acknowledge that this one would be hard to stay away from. After all, orcas, aka killer whales, are very much glamorized in our world as whales that can connect with humans in various ways. Hence why the movie Free Willy exists and why the mascot of SeaWorld is an orca itself. However, you also hopefully know that orcas are called killer whales for a reason, and it's a very good one. They're apex predators and are known to go after great white sharks if they feel so inclined. These massive creatures hunt in coordinated packs, displaying intelligence that rivals many other animals in the ocean. They're also highly adaptable and have been known to develop unique hunting techniques based on their environment, such as intentionally beaching themselves to catch seals before retreating back into the water. This ability to learn and adapt makes them even more formidable as predators. Orcas have even been observed playing with their prey before killing it, a behavior that some scientists suggest shows just how calculated and merciless they can be when hunting. They're also known to be pretty mean and petty and can harm humans if provoked. Their sheer size, combined with their powerful tails and sharp teeth, makes them formidable even when stranded on land. See, SeaWorld for instance. So, if you see one on the beach, your basic instinct might be to go and save the beached whale. But you'd be much wiser to call in the professionals and let them handle it, just to be safe. Number 5. Stargazer. There are many types of stargazers out there in the world today, and as a result of that, you need to be mindful of what they are and why you should stay away from them. It also does not help that these creatures aren't afraid to bury themselves in the sand, so you might not even see one of them until it's too late. What makes them even more dangerous is their ability to camouflage so perfectly with their surroundings that they appear to be just part of the seabed. This sneaky hiding technique is used to ambush unsuspecting prey, but it can also catch an unlucky human off guard. Some stargazers are venomous and can inject toxins through spines located behind their gills or above their pectoral fins, which can cause severe pain and swelling. In some cases, these toxins can lead to more serious complications like muscle weakness or difficulty breathing. To add to the creep factor, stargazers can also emit electrical charges as a secondary defense mechanism, which they use to stun their prey or ward off threats. Some, for example, like the electric stargazer, have a bite that delivers a 50-volt charge that's going to hurt. Others, well, they'll just make you bleed your own blood, which is just as bad, in my opinion. Number 4. Stingrays. Here's one that should be very obvious to stay away from, the stingray. After all, they have stingers on their bodies that they can use to absolutely wreck you if you provoke them. What's more, because of how thin they are, they can very easily be missed on something like a beach. So, if you do happen to step on one and it lashes out in anger, you're going to end up regretting it. In some cases, the barb from their stinger can break off inside the wound, making the injury even more painful and difficult to treat. This sharp, serrated barb is not only used for defense, but can also cause significant tissue damage upon entry and removal. Additionally, stingrays have a venom that can cause excruciating pain and swelling around the wound, which may persist for hours or even days. The venom itself contains proteins that disrupt cell membranes and inflame nerve endings, which is why the sting feels so intense. Now, just so you know, the stings of the stingray are not actually known to be fatal unless they hit you in the right spot. So, stepping on one on the beach would likely mess up your leg, but it won't kill you as it doesn't have strong enough toxins within the sting itself. Stingray stings usually cause intense pain, nausea, weakness, and fainting. Plus, you could also get an infection, so keep that in mind and be on the lookout for these creatures as you walk in the sand. Number 3. Titan Triggerfish. While the Titan Triggerfish is on this list, I do want to make a note that it's only loosely included in terms of how dangerous it might be. Mainly because while you may find it near beaches, it's fine to observe it so long as you don't go near its nest or its breeding grounds. The Titan Triggerfish has a personality switch, if you will, one that becomes activated when it's breeding. During this time, their aggression isn't limited to divers or swimmers. They've been known to chase away larger marine animals that accidentally wander too close. Their sharp teeth are powerful enough to break through shells of crabs and clams, so you can imagine what they could do to human skin if provoked. Additionally, they're highly territorial and their zone can extend vertically, meaning even if you're above them, they might still consider you a threat. Some divers have reported feeling their fins being nipped as they tried to ascend away from a triggerfish's area. These fish also use a direct charging motion to scare off intruders, which can be incredibly intimidating, especially in open water. If you were to be a diver and go down to examine this fish during that particular season, the fish is going to rush at you, ram you, and use its teeth to do whatever is possible to get you to leave them alone. It's unlikely that they'll kill you, but the experience is one to remind you not to interrupt them when it's love time for that special cuddle. Number 2. Puffer fish. Here we are at a fish that you shouldn't touch, regardless of whether it's on the beach, in the ocean, in an aquarium, or anywhere in between. The puffer fish is, by and large, one of the deadliest creatures in the world, and it's what has made tetrodotoxin so famous, perhaps even infamous, for good reason. One touch, one poke, one taste, and it'll inject enough of that toxin to kill you. Period. And as noted before, there is no antidote. Even in its seemingly harmless form, it can still stick you with the venom. What makes it even more frightening is how deceptively cute it looks when it inflates into its signature puffball shape. Many unsuspecting individuals, especially children, might think it's harmless or even fun to touch, leading to tragic consequences. This defense mechanism isn't just a deterrent, it's a warning to stay far, far away. Furthermore, puffer fish have been known to wash ashore after storms or tides, making it more likely for beachgoers to encounter them. It's so feared that even though it has meat that can be eaten, the only people brave enough to serve up this fish are the Japanese. That's only because they've mastered the art of cutting away all the toxic parts of the body so that you can enjoy it without issues. Still though, just stay away if you do happen to see one. Number 1. Leopard seal. Here's one that you'll need to be on specific beaches to see up close, but if you do encounter one, don't allow it to become angry. Leopard seals are vicious creatures when the time comes, and they can stalk prey underwater and on land with great ease. They're over 11 feet long, weighing almost 1,500 pounds at times. That's more than enough to mess with anyone they see on the beach. These seals have powerful jaws and sharp teeth capable of tearing through flesh, which makes even a single encounter potentially deadly. They're also incredibly territorial, especially during breeding season, which heightens the risk of aggression if you venture too close. They've also been known to lash out at humans, which includes one recorded fatality, and they've gone after divers as well. In fact, that fatality mentioned earlier was indeed due to a leopard seal attacking a diver because, according to them, it was scared by the diver's presence. That's a haunting thought, something that big being scared by a diver and then lashing out. So, given all of that information, if you do see one of these on the beach, just stay away from it. That's all for today from the world of dangerous beach animals you should steer clear of. Which of these creatures surprised you with just how dangerous they can be up close? Have you ever encountered any of these animals on a beach before? Are there others you think should have made the list? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to check out more fascinating content popping up on your screen, and I'll catch you next time.